February the 8th, 1980, a 39-year-old man dies in a small Mississippi town. No investigation, no official cause of death, and no explanation. Just whispers. Whispers that said one thing: murder. Welton Freeney, contract meter reader, Leake County, Mississippi. He was 11 days from his 40th birthday when he died, and for over 40 years, the official record has said nothing. We're breaking down a death that was buried by silence, a small town mystery where the cover-up is the only evidence we have, and where we're asking the question nobody wanted to answer. Was this murder? Or was it something the town decided was worse? Here's what we know for certain. Welton Smith Freeney died on February the 8th, 1980. And here's what we don't know: how, why, or who was responsible. Because when we searched for official records, police reports, newspaper articles, autopsy findings, we found absolutely nothing. A complete blank. And in a case like this, that's silence. That's not just suspicious. That's evidence. And for the next 20 minutes, we're going into a town where everybody knew your name, but nobody would say what happened, where family ties ran deeper than truth, and where one man's death became the secret for an entire community, kept for over 40 years. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Tell a friend about us. Crime Ninja TV brings you all kinds of great cases every week. Welton Freeney wasn't just a resident of Carthage. His family name was literally on the map. There's a Freeney, Mississippi, a Freeney family cemetery. For generations, the Freeneys were part of Leake County's foundation. Welton was 39 years old, married to Dorothy Ann, father to his daughter Melissa, and other children. He had a job, a family, a life that should have at least another 40 years in it. Welton's job was reading electric meters for Central Electric Power Association. Sounds simple, right? But in the 1980s, rural Mississippi, that job meant something completely different. It meant driving alone down dirt roads to isolated houses, getting out of your truck and walking onto private property where strangers rarely went. He was the face of the power company, the guy who could shut off your lights if you didn't pay. And every single day, he went to places where nobody was expecting him. But here's the real risk nobody talks about. Out there in the backwoods, Welton could stumble onto things he was never meant to see: moonshine stills, chop shops, drug deals, domestic violence. A meter reader on a random route could walk into the wrong place at the wrong time and become a witness to something that couldn't afford to have witnesses. On February the 8th of 1980, Welton Freeney died 11 days before his 40th birthday, and what happened next is where this story stops being about death and starts being about a cover-up. The exact details of that day are lost, and we don't know where Welton was found. Was he on his route? Did he not come home, forcing a search? Was he in his truck on some dirt road, or was it at his home? The records that should answer these questions don't exist, or they were never made, or someone made sure they disappeared. When a man dies unexpectedly in a small town, especially from a well-known family, it's news, big news. You would expect a statement from the sheriff, an article in the local paper, an obituary with the hint of something that might have happened. We searched everything online, and that was available: newspaper articles, archives, public records, death certificates, and we found nothing. Not a single article, not one police statement. The official story was silence. Now, if you're already seeing where this is going, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now, because this case gets darker the deeper we go, and I need you here for all of it. Any suspicious death, there's a process. Secure the scene, interview the witnesses, order an autopsy, investigate motives, follow leads. But with Welton Freeney, either those steps never made it, or some made sure there's no record they did. And that creates a vacuum that got filled with something way more powerful than official statements, whispers. In a place like Carthage, news travels fast. Someone saw something. Someone heard something. Someone remembered an argument, a strange car, a mad landowner Welton had trouble with. Every detail, true or not, gets collected and passed around over party line phones. At the general store after church on Sunday, and when those whispers weren't answered by officials, when there was no press conferences, no arrests, no explanation, people started drawing their own conclusions, and those conclusions all pointed to the same thing: murder. So let's talk about theories. 4 of them, each one born from that silence. Theory 1, the witness. Welton's job took him to the most remote parts of the county, places where illegal operations could run without fear. Moonshine stills, chop shops, drug deals. What if Welton turned down the wrong driveway on the wrong day? What if he saw something he was never supposed to see? Now, in this scenario, he's not killed because of who he is. He's killed because of what he knows. His death is calculated. Witness elimination, and the scene gets staged to look like an accident or natural causes, something plausible, something that wouldn't invite questions. Theory 2, the final confrontation. This one's more personal, more human. Welton shows up to read a meter, or worse, to disconnect someone's power for non-payment. Now, in rural Mississippi in 1980, losing electricity wasn't an inconvenience. It was a crisis. The homeowner is already angry. Maybe they've been drinking. The argument escalates, a shovel, a punch. Maybe Welton falls and hits his head. Maybe it goes further. This isn't premeditated murder. This is rage, a moment that spirals out of control, and afterward, panic. The person responsible uses their connections, their family name to make it go away. They claim self-defense. They pressure the sheriff. They lean on old relationships, and slowly, quietly, the official story becomes natural causes or undetermined. The case dies before it's born. Now, theory 3, the old feud. Small towns have long memories, and families that have been there for generations have equally long histories. Land disputes, failed business deals, personal insults that happened 20, 30, 40 years ago. This kind of grudge gets passed down like an inheritance. The Freeney name was powerful, which means they had a history, and history means conflict. What if Welton's death had nothing to do with his job, something that happened before he was even born? In this version, the murder is deeply personal. The motive is buried in family secrets, and a cover-up becomes essential to prevent an all-out war between families that would tear the town apart. And then there is theory 4, the darkest one, the accident and the cover-up. Welton's death really was an accident, a hunting mishap, a reckless driver who panicked, but the person responsible had too much to lose, a powerful family name, political connections, so they made a call. Not to the sheriff to report a tragedy, but to a friend to manage the crisis. And the scene gets altered, evidence disappears, the cause of death becomes something vague, something that doesn't invite questions. This theory says the conspiracy wasn't about hiding murder, it was about hiding guilt, about deciding that one person's reputation was worth more than the truth. 4 theories, 4 different stories, but they all share one thing: a secret important enough to protect, important enough to bury a man's death along with his body. The silence around Welton Freeney isn't just frustrating, it's a symptom. It shows us what happens when a community decides that protecting itself is more important than justice, when the instinct to keep family business private becomes a weapon against the truth. In places like Carthage, loyalty isn't just a value, it's survival. You protect your own because your own are all you have, but that same loyalty can become a trap. It can create a code of silence so strong that even witnesses who know the truth convince themselves it's better to stay quiet, not because they're evil, but because breaking that silence means risking everything: your place in the community, your family's reputation, your safety. The silence becomes self-sustaining. It feeds itself, and 40 years later, it's still holding. Now, if this story is making you as frustrated as it makes me, I need you to do something. Share this video. The more people who know Welton Freeney's name, the harder it is for this secret to stay buried. because somebody out there knows what happened. Somebody in Lee County heard something, saw something, he was told something, and maybe, just maybe, they're ready to talk. Welton Freeney has been gone for 45 years. His wife, Dorothy, passed away in 2022 without ever knowing what really happened. His children are still living with that question mark, and somewhere in Lee County, the truth is still there, locked in someone's memory. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's just a piece of the puzzle they didn't think mattered, but it's there. Cases like this show us something uncomfortable about small-town justice, or the lack of it. When everyone knows everyone, investigations get complicated, loyalties conflict, power dynamics shift, and sometimes the path of least resistance is silence. And that silence might keep the peace on the surface, but underneath, it's a wound that never heals because it has never properly been cleaned. The question doesn't go away. They just get passed down from Dorothy to her children, from the people who whispered in 1980 to their grandchildren who are whispering now. So here's where you come in. If you're from Lee County, if you have family there, if you know anyone who was around in 1980 and might remember what people were saying, reach out. You can leave a comment below. You can send a message. You don't have to go on camera. You don't have to give your name. But if you do know something, anything about what really happened to Welton Freeney, please share it, because this family deserves answers and the truth deserves to see the light of day. All the ways to reach me are on the screen right now. Screenshot it, save it, and if you think of something later, even weeks or months from now, don't hesitate. Cold cases get solved because someone remembers, someone decides that truth matters more than silence. Welton Smith Freeney was more than a mystery. He was a husband, a father, a man with a life that mattered. His death left a hole that was never filled, just covered over. And for Dorothy, his wife, who spent 42 more years without answers before she died in 2022, and for his children who are still searching, that silence is heavier than any gravestone. This case reminds us that the deepest secrets aren't always hidden in locked files. Sometimes they are hidden in plain sight, in the shared memory of a town that decided some things are better left unsaid. But here's the truth about secrets. They don't actually disappear. They just wait. And sometimes all it takes is someone willing to break the silence. If you believe no case should ever be closed, if you think every family deserves the truth, hit that subscribe button. We're covering cases that time forgot, missing persons, unsolved murders, the stories that fell through the cracks. And your support keeps these names alive. Be sure to check out the companion video as one of Welton's family members breaks down his memory of his uncle. See you next time on Crime Ninja TV.